What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I gotta tell you, I'm smoked. We went like a 2-month sprint to get automatic.css ready for launch. We did the beta launch inside the inner circle, went absolutely fantastic, smashed it, crushed it. Did the public launch the week after that, crushed it again. Over 1,325 sales of automatic.css. The goal was, here are the goals. 500 was like going to be a decent. I was going to say that's decent. 1,000 was going to be, that's great. That's fantastic. That's amazing. We got 1,320, over 1,325. So that is just absolutely phenomenal. And it proves that automatic.css is absolutely here to stay. And we are now poised. We are going to be, I'll just let you know, I'll put you on notice. We are taking over the utility class space. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep into that. We've got a training video to do on margin top versus margin bottom. I want to see which camp you are in. And I'm going to tell you why I recently switched from the margin bottom camp to the margin top camp. We're going to talk about it. We're going to take a look at an example. I also do want to say it is December. We have just hit the 6-month mark on the launch of the inner circle. So we're celebrating the 6-month anniversary of the inner circle. And I got to tell you, I've got so much stuff planned for the inner circle in 2022. Things are going to get so more interactive. We might even have some different levels to the inner circle. I can't reveal anything yet, but there is a lot of really exciting stuff in the works. And I'm getting message after message from people telling me, thank you so much for what you do in the inner circle, and here's why. And it's not just because of saving them time on development and helping them learn Oxygen and helping them do all this other stuff. On the agency side of things, there is person after person after person, freelancer after freelancer after freelancer, agency owner after agency owner messaging me, telling me, Kevin, I'm using your proposal templates. I'm using the stuff that you're teaching in the inner circle and the assets that you are giving us access to. I'm closing more deals. I'm closing deals at double the price, triple the price as what I was doing before. I'm getting clients to prepay for their projects. I'm not chasing payments anymore. Just message after message, and I can't be happier to hear that stuff. It's exactly what motivates me. Like, nothing makes me happier. Put the automatic CSS stuff aside, I help people with Oxygen training. Nothing makes me happier than hearing people elevating their game financially and getting themselves better off. And like for $20 a month, the value that you get in the inner circle is insane, and pretty much anybody that's in the inner circle will tell you that. But that's what I'm most proud of, and I just wanted that to not be overlooked. That we do have the 6-month anniversary of the inner circle, and it's really unsettling for me, honestly. Like, the amount of things that I want to do for automatic CSS. The amount of things that I want to do for the inner circle, there's this tension where it's like, I wanna, but at the same time, there's only so much time in a day, and there's only so much energy in one human being. It's like, I have to pace myself, and first of all, I have to get to these holidays that are coming up and relax and rest and recharge. But coming back in 2022, I'm just gonna have to remind myself, I gotta pace myself. And we are going to get there eventually. We can't get there all at once, even though I want to. And I wish I could get there all at once, because what I have planned for both automatic CSS and the inner circle is just really, really fun and really exciting. And so I wanted to, as we kind of close out this year, there will be more trainings, before Christmas and the holidays and New Year and all of that. But I just want to take a minute to thank all of you for your support. Everybody who subscribes to this channel, everybody who's liked my videos and commented, for those of you who are members in the inner circle already, for those of you who purchased automatic.css, just thank you. I'm really honored. I'm really excited as to what we're building and where we're going to go. So with that said, let's go ahead and get to training. All right, that was a good 4 solid minutes for those of you who hate the amount of talking that I do. All right. Just for you. All right. So we're going to open the builder. And by the way, I've been doing this in Firefox a lot more lately. And I'm really, I'm noticing a huge speed difference over Brave when using Firefox. Now, one thing is, okay, I'm going to pause the tutorial. I'm going to take off Swiss Knife real quick, and then we're going to keep going because this is not working for me. Okay, so I just had to clear out the Swiss Knife. It was like breaking my brain with their new layout and all of that. I just wanted a blank slate, nice, clean, simple to start from. So I pulled up this little hero section on Dribble. We're not going to design this whole thing, but I do like to bake in other like mini lessons into trainings that I do. So we will style some of this stuff so that, any beginners can see how that's done. But mainly what we're going to be doing in this training is talking about margin top versus margin bottom, because I think the default is for people to add margin to the bottom of elements in order to space elements away from each other. And if you look at a lot of frameworks, margin bottom seems to be the predominantly used utility class. And I've been playing a lot lately with margin top, and I think we need to explore and decide what camp you're in. If margin top is more efficient and more logical than margin bottom. We're going to do both, and we're going to take a look at the differences. And I think you're going to fall where I've been falling, in the camp of like, hey, we should probably be using margin top for most of this stuff. So let's go ahead and get to building. So I'm going to add a section, and we are going to add I'm going to add a div, and this is going to be a grid. We're not going to put anything on the right side of the grid, but then we're going to add text, heading, text, button, button. Okay, text, heading, button, button. So let me add a div. Let's put a background color on here. So we'll do base light, and then we will do grid, and we'll do 2. And we can actually just do grid auto 2, I suppose. So we'll just do grid auto 2. And then we'll do div, and then we'll do a duplicate, and then we will select that whole entire wrapper, and we'll do gap of maybe XL. Okay, now, like I said, we're going to add a text, we're going to add a heading, we're going to add more text, and then we're going to add a div for a button wrapper. All right, and then this is going to have inside of that div a button, and we're going to duplicate that button. Perfect. Okay, so if we look here, we have all of our elements. Nothing is styled yet, obviously, but we have all of our kind of elements that we need to work with. So let's get some text in here. So we're going to say fastest delivery service. That's going to be this, fastest delivery service. And I'm going to make this ultralight just so we don't have to do like extra work with our text and all that to get it readable. All right, we are ready to deliver your goods. All right, so we're going to say we are ready to deliver your goods. Perfect. And then we're going to add, I don't know what that says down there, thousands of service points spread all over Indonesia. Okay, so we have thousands of locations spread all over the United States. All right, great, fantastic. I'm just going to capitalize that. None of this matters. Okay. And then I'm going to grab this little button wrapper. I'm grabbing the wrapper around the 2 buttons, and I'm going to do a grid of 2 on this. And then I'm going to do a grid of auto, or not a grid of auto, I'm sorry. That's a width of auto. And then I'm going to add a gap of S, and then I'm going to add our text. So find location and need help. So find location, and that should really say, okay, like, oh, I see. It's not a button. So let's get rid of that. Let's do a text link. Perfect. And good. Let's grab this horizontal and center, middle. There we go. Get that alignment all set. And then it says need help question mark. Okay, it did not select all. Need help question mark. Perfect. Now let's do a button primary on this. These are all automatic.css classes. We also could have done this alignment with utility classes. Okay, so let's do text base ultra dark. That'll kind of make that text, actually let's do, instead of ultra dark, text base dark. There we go. That'll kind of make those colors all mesh together automatically. And then what we can do is we can make this a little bit bigger. The way that we would do that, just because this is obviously much bigger text, This is already an H1, so we're just going to override the H1 size in automatic. So I'm going to go into the dashboard, and I'm going to go to automatic CSS. Oh, this actually isn't the latest version because this is my sandbox site. All right, so I'm going to go, it's okay. I'm going to go to typography. We're going to scroll down to the XXL overrides, and I'm going to do 3.2, and we're going to try like 5.4. That's the XXL max and min. And then we'll take a look at this on the front end. That's pretty much perfect. That's right where I want it to be. Okay, let me reload the builder so that we can see that in the builder as well. And then we'll be ready to take a look at margin top versus margin bottom spacing. Because now you see all these things are super squished together. Oh, before I give you the goods, let's do one more styling thing. So we're going to call this H accent. And we're going to style it like our example right here. So fastest delivery service. And that looks like it's going to be a primary color. So H accent, we're going to use a variable. So we're going to go var primary, and it's going to make that our primary color. And then I'm going to add that little dash to it. So the way we're going to do that is go to layout flex, and then we're going to go to the before, and we are going to display that flex as well. We're going to go to size and spacing. The height is going to be 2 pixels. The width is going to be 2em. And let's see, the background is going to be var primary. And then we're going to need to go to our main H accent. And we're going to go back to layout. And we're going to say this is going to be a row. And we need to center everything. Now you see it's pretty much there the way they have it, except we need to go back to the before pseudo element. That's the line, the little dash line. And we need to add a little margin to the right of it, maybe like 0.75em. Okay, so that's how you would style something like that. And if we look at our design, all we need to do here is like a width of S, and then probably an opacity of like, I don't know, 60. Or you could use like a light, one of the light color shade variations, but that gets us pretty close, okay? All right, now we need spacing. So let's talk about margin bottom versus margin top. I'm gonna duplicate this so that we can do it twice, and I'm gonna put a blank section in between them just so we have some space. All right, so what people would normally do is they would come add a margin bottom class to this, like S, and they would do margin bottom maybe here of M, and they would do a margin bottom here maybe of M as well. Maybe even a large there. I'm not sure. Let's see again in our example. Okay, this looks like this is more of the S variety. So margin bottom small. All right, and then let's take a look. All right, so we've done our margin bottom. Now, here's the thing about margin bottom. If you remove something, margin bottom is spacing that's applied because there's an element related to another element, okay? There's a problem with this, an inherent problem, and it's that it relies on there being another element. And if you're making changes and you're deciding certain things, for example, what if, I wouldn't do this, but there are cases where this would happen. What if I took this first element? The margin bottom relies on the position of elements related to each other. So for example, because this was the first element, if I drag it down here, right, it makes this the first element. If I drag it all the way down here, it makes, not in that div, sorry. Let's try to get it. Oh, oxygen. There we go. If I drag it all the way to the bottom, you see, because this was the last element, there's no spacing now, right? And I was moving this element, but that forces me to go to this element to add a margin bottom to it. So you see how those like are related to, the margin is based on another element, not the element you're working with. Even though I'm moving an element, I now have to go to another element and change it in order to make these two things work together. So I'm going to put that back at the top. The same thing happens when I remove an element. Oh, and now, well, let's just look at it, right? This was here, so I decided, well, shoot, I need to go add margin. Well, no, that's back in my grid because oxygen. Okay, thank you. I went to this to add margin bottom because this existed. But when this no longer exists, I'm just moving it. I'm like, well, now I got to do more work. I got to go here and I got to remove a margin bottom class. The same is true if I was like, oh, we don't need those buttons. Okay, let me copy them because I don't want to delete them. But I remove them because the client's like, oh, we don't need those buttons there. Go ahead and remove them. So I did the work of removing them, but guess what? Because I'm using this margin bottom concept, I now have to go to this element and remove the margin bottom because there's nothing below it anymore. But then the client's like, oh, we need those buttons back. Okay, well, I put the buttons back. Oh, I can't copy. Okay, let me duplicate this one down here. I don't have hydrogen pack, I guess. I'm going to move this up here. So, okay, I put the buttons back, but by putting the buttons back, it's forcing me to now go back to this element and add another margin bottom class. And if, again, I choose the wrong one, then it's like, okay, well, now I got to remove that. And I got to, like, why am I doing all this extra work on this element when this is the element that I was just working with, right? Margin top solves this. So let's go down here and take a look. Let me add another section so we're not just at the total bottom of the thing here. Okay, there we go. So watch this now. I decide, well, these two things need to be spaced out. So the heading is the second thing that exists. I'm going to go margin top, and that's going to be S. And then here, I'm going to go margin top, and that's going to be S as well. And then here, I'm going to go margin top. This is going to be margin top M. So I have the same exact spacing, but what you're going to see is that these things are far less dependent on each other. So if I decide that either we're working with first and last primarily, the only thing that's affected still is if you remove the first element on the page. So if I, took that first element away, I do have to go remove the margin top here. However, everything beyond the first element, if I can go backwards, everything beyond the first element is not dependent on the elements around it. So if I remove the last element right here, there's nothing else I have to do. I don't have to go to this and do anything to it, right? So let me put that back. There we go. If I were to add something else, like let's add another line of text down here. Watch how efficient this becomes. So in the old model, let's do the old model where I add text. And now I added text here, but I have to click here and find the right area. And then I got to margin bottom this and decide how much space there's going to be. So that took like 2 steps. Whereas if I want to add something here, I add text and I stay on this element and just add the proper margin top. I didn't have to go to another element. And then if the client's like, oh, no, we don't need that. Okay, cool. I remove it and the margin goes away with it because the margin is attached to the element that I'm actually working with. It's not attached to another unrelated element or like an adjacent element that I didn't even care about a minute ago. So I'm feeling like this is so much more efficient to do the margin top thing. Now you could get the best of both worlds. You could say, well, my first element is going to get a margin bottom of S, right? And then this one doesn't need a margin top. Everything else is going to get a margin top. So now if I remove my first element, I don't have to do any extra work. And if I remove my last element, I don't have to do any extra work. And then if I need to add anything in the middle here between all of these elements, I don't have to go to another element to adjust it. I can just sit there on the element I just added and add the proper spacing to it. And all is well in the world. So if you add up the sum total of the clicks and the behaviors and the thinking that you're having to do, I feel like margin top is far more efficient. This is obviously like you could do it either way. This is just, I'm exhausted and I wanted to put out a training. And this is just something I've been thinking about for like the last couple months. And it's a reason why we built margin top classes into automatic.css. I just feel like it's more efficient. What I want to know is if you agree with me. Like, what camp are you in? Are you in the margin bottom camp? Are you in the margin top camp? Play around with it a little bit, and I bet you'll start getting annoyed. Here's what I'm guessing. if you're a margin bottom person, you may not have realized the extra clicks and the hassle of like, I add something, so now I have to go back to this previous element and add margin bottom to it. And then if I remove it, then I got to go back to that previous element and remove the spacing. You're going to start to get annoyed. If you keep using margin bottom, let me go back to camera here. Okay. If you keep using margin bottom, you are going to get annoyed, and I'm going to pop into your brain. You're going to be like, damn it, Kevin was right. He was right. We should be using margin top. That's it. I don't know. It's December. It's the end of the year. I'm just putting out a training video for you. I put some other little things in there for everybody in case you're not really concerned with the margin top versus margin bottom debate. But that's it. I'm going to have a nice weekend with Georgia absolutely smashing and crushing and grinding the Alabama Crimson Tide into the dirt. And I will see you guys again next week. All right. Peace.